Good day, greetings students. I'm very happy to meet you all again in class 11 business studies, and we are in chapter 2, which is forms of business organization. In chapter 1 we have discussed about how to start a business enterprise and what are the important factors that you have to consider when you want to start a business. Among those various factors, one important point was that you need to select the right form of business that you want to start with. So for that only we are dealing with various forms of business organization so that it will help you to analyze and choose the best form of business organization. What is the best for you? Whichever suits you well, whichever you think is advantageous for you is the best for you. Every business organization has various limitations, features and merits. We need to analyze each and every form of organization so that we'll know which is suitable for us. Right students? So far we have discussed about 4 different forms of business organization, and what are they? Sole proprietorship, partnership, joint Hindu family business, cooperative societies. Right? We have discussed in sole proprietorship what are the points that we have discussed. We have discussed about the features. What do we mean by sole proprietorship? Single ownership. Only one person will be handling the entire activities of the business. There even we saw merits and demerits for sole proprietorship even. And there are not much legal restrictions for a sole proprietorship form of business. Then when we move on to joint Hindu family business, it is also called as Hindu undivided family business, and it is governed by the Hindu Succession Act 1956. Right. Again, if you see there, it is the only form of business organization that is prevalent only in India. You can't find Hindu undivided family business anywhere in the world. That form exists only in India. Why? Because here only we have the tradition of having joint Hindu families. And there we saw about 2 important terms, Karta and co-partners. Who is a Karta? Karta is the eldest member of the family. He or she manages the business and is responsible for decision making. Talking about co-partners, the other members of the family are called as co-partners. Right. Then when we discuss partnership, we saw various types of partners. Right? There are different types of partners. What are the rules and regulations of partnership? What is the act that governs it? The Indian Partnership Act 1932 governs it. Right? So what are the types of partnership also we saw on the basis of duration and on the basis of liability. Then we discussed about partnership deed, and of course we talked about registration. Why is registration compulsory? Actually it is not compulsory for a partnership form of business organization. It is optional. Even though it is optional, it is advisable for partnership organizations to register themselves. Why? For legal formalities. If they want to file a case against their partner, or if the partner has to file a case against the firm, or when the firm wants to file a case against another firm, they have to have a legal identity. That is why we said that even though registration of partnership is optional, it is advisable just because of what? Just because it has some legal formalities and legal helpings that a company could do with. Right. Then we discussed in the previous session about cooperative society. So what is a cooperative society? It's a formation of various members. Okay, 10 adult members are needed, and it is governed by Cooperative Societies Act. Right, it is governed by Cooperative Societies Act, and we saw their features, the merits, limitations and types. We saw about 6 types of cooperative societies, and what is their main motive? Their motive is to look after the welfare of the members. It is not about most profit, it is entirely about welfare of the members, and it has a service motive. Right children? And if they get any surplus or a profit, they divide it in terms of dividend. How much ever shares we have bought, whatever percentage we have, we hold in the capital. Based on that same percentage, the dividend also will be shared. Okay. Today we are going to discuss about the final form of business organization, which is called as joint stock companies. Right? What are the important things that we need to know about a joint stock company? association of persons, it is even voluntary. And how it is done? It is formed for carrying out of business activities, and it attains a legal status. How it attains a legal status? Just like how registration for cooperative societies is compulsory, same way registration for a joint stock company also is compulsory. Okay, that is why it gets a legal status. And we call companies as an artificial person. What do we mean by an artificial person? It makes itself different from the owner. If you recall sole proprietorship, owner as well as a business are one and the same. In partnership also there is an influence. Joint stock company, family, ancestral property, there is an influence. Here when you see, it is a separate person. It is looked, the company is looked as a separate person. So anything that happens to the members will never affect the company. Right? That is why a joint stock company or any sort of companies are called as artificial persons. You need to remember this term, artificial person. Perpetual succession. What do we mean by perpetual? Perpetual means continuous, unlimited. That is, when in sole proprietorship, if the sole proprietor dies, the company comes to an end. Right? Even in partnership, if one partner dies or withdraws, then the partnership deed comes to an end. Only if all the other partners accept and agree to continue the business, they can form another partnership agreement and they can start. But here if you see, the company is different from its members because it has a legal status and it has a perpetual succession. That is why we say that even anything that happens to any of the members, there may be many members, and nothing that happens to the members will affect the company, because the company is seen as a different person, a different thing from the owner. That is why we call it an artificial person. Common seal. What is that common seal? We have seen that important person, the signing authority. In sole proprietorship, the deciding authority or the signing authority will be the sole proprietor. Joined into family business will be the karta, the eldest member of the family. Partnership, the active partner or the person who is named as the important signing authority. Cooperative society, we have that elected members, chairpersons who will do that. Here, common seal, many members will be there. So the company itself will have a seal, separate seal. Just how we say it is an artificial person, similarly, the company will have a separate seal. If you see big companies, they'll have a separate common seal. The company seal will be there. Right? It will be a different logo. Nothing of, no need of any particular people's signature. It is, the seal itself is enough. That is why we say that artificial person is there. So definitely the artificial person's signature is going to be the common seal. Right? And we know that in everything some act or some rule governs the entire form of business organization. What governs a joint stock company? The act is the Companies Act 2013. Do you remember? You have already studied about the Companies Act 2013. Where? Partnership? Yes, we studied about it in partnership. Regarding what? Regarding the number of members allowed, number of partners allowed. According to Companies Act 2013, 100 members will be allowed as partners. I am talking about partnership. And according to the Companies Act 2014, it was reduced to 50 members. The entire joint stock company form of business organization is governed and registered, everything under the Companies Act 2013. Right. Next point that we need to discuss is about the capital. In sole proprietorship, the capital is given directly by the sole proprietor. There in joint into family business, ancestral property. Partnership, each one of them would share something. Right. Then cooperative societies is also by investing little bit of amounts in shares. Here also shares will be sold out, and from there the amount will be raised, which will be called as shareholders. The people who buy the shares will become shareholders. Right? The people who buy the shares will become shareholders, and the head of the people, head of the shareholders will be called as board of directors. In cooperative society, you remember how they choose? They choose with the help of an election, democratic. So they will choose with an election. Here, the board of directors. Here also there will be an election, and the head members, chief governing members, will be called as the board of directors. Okay, they are the deciding authority. When something happens, when some decision has to be taken, then these people are called as board of directors, and they are the decision making authority. Right? The head of the company. Because there are many members, and members are from different areas. Right? They are from different places. So when it comes to decision making authority, it's like one person should do it. So here what do we have? We have a board, that is a group of members who are called as board of directors. Right. So what are the important points about a joint stock company? It is an association of persons, and it is formed for carrying out business activities and has a legal status independent of its members. That is, it is different from its members. It is not the same person like the sole proprietorship. Clear? So it is an association of persons, and it has a separate legal status. It is called to be an artificial person. Then it has a perpetual succession. That is what happens. Even when one member, something happens to one member, it will not affect the next member. Okay, it will not affect the next member of the particular organization. It will not affect the company itself. ஏன்னா கம்பெனியும் வேற ஓனரும் வேற, கம்பெனிக்கும் ஓனர்ஸ் ஆர் மெம்பர்ஸ்க்கும் எந்த சம்மந்தமுமே கிடையாது. மெம்பர்ஸ்க்கு ஏதாவது ஆச்சு, சம்திங் லைக் டெத், இன்சால்வென்சி, நாட் ஃபீலிங் வெல், எனிதிங் ஹேப்பன்ஸ், தேர் இஸ் நோ பாயிண்ட் லைக் கம்பெனி சோல் ப்ரொப்ரைட்டர்ஷிப் மாதிரி மூடிடுவோமானோ? நோ, does not go like that. The company is a different person. We have already seen. Artificial person. Perpetual means what? Unlimited, goes on from ever. Okay? Common seal, that is a signature. Okay? School seal and all is there, right? So it's a different person. It can. Why do we need this common seal? Because it removes it from the ownership of someone. யாரோ ஒருத்தர் அதை கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணுறதுலேருந்து அது நடந்து போகிறது தான் இந்த common seal ஓட purpose. So you don't need anyone's signature. You just have a common seal, or at times if the company does not have a common seal, they'll have one signing authority with the name of the company. So with the name Kavya, down they'll have the Kavya Private Limited Company, like that they'll have. Okay? And then it is governed by the Companies Act 2013. Okay, it is governed by the Companies Act 2013. The registration, everything goes according to this. And people, the members are called as shareholders. They all choose board of directors, and these board of directors are called as what? Board of directors are the decision making authority. Okay, they are the decision making authority. And what about shares? How the capital is raised? By issuing shares. The entire capital will be divided and will be issued as shares. People buy those shares and they become shareholders. Clear? Next we are going to discuss about the features of joint stock company. Now you have understood the meaning of joint stock company. Based on the meaning we can figure out the features of joint stock company. Clear? Now artificial person we discussed already. What does an artificial person mean? Artificial person means he or she, that quality itself is not there. It is called the company. It. Okay, person means he or she is there, but here artificial person is it. It has everything. It has a name, it has a separate status, it has everything. Just like human beings, it cannot walk or run or eat or drink. That's it. Otherwise, it can do all the activities. It can run its own company. It can raise its capital. So when shares are issued, it is mentioned that the company has issued shares. The company has faced a profit. the company has filed a case. All these things happens with the company. So that is why we call it an artificial person. Clear? What do we call it? An artificial person. Then separate legal entity. What do we mean by that separate legal entity? It is different from the members. It has a separate legal entity. Already in partnership registration we saw, right? When it has a separate legal entity, there is no problem. Something that happens to the members also will not affect the business. It can have all the benefits of a joint stock company. It can work on its own and it can go for legal proceedings also. Right? The main important thing is it will be different from its members. Alright? Then comes formation. Formation, how do you do it? By issuing shares. And it is really going to be time consuming, it is going to be expensive process, it's going to be a complicated process because joint stock company is going to be big. You need to figure out everything because you are going to let the company work on its own. Or artificial person create pandrom. Or artificial person create pandrappo, we need to be very careful, we need to plan clearly. Planning is of course a costly process. So that's why we say the formation of a joint stock company is really tough, time consuming and of course expensive. And what it requires, it involves several documents to be produced. Legal proceedings are there and it is compulsory to be registered under the Companies Act 2013 and there are more acts. Before the Companies Act 2013 we have had many acts which also govern it. Okay, like there is a list given in your book, kindly go through it. There are 6 acts given so that you can go through them and you just can know according to that act. On the act you registered paninalu, company will be accepted as a registered company. Clear? That's the registry formation. Right? Next comes perpetual succession. As I said, the transfer of shares is easy. If I buy a share, I want to leave the company. What can I do? I can either give back the shares to the company or I can transfer it to my friend and I can leave the company. So the transfer of shares become very easy and of course my death or my insolvency is not going to affect the company because it's a different person. It is an artificial person. So the company goes on and on and on. It does not have to stop anywhere. Okay, that is what we call as perpetual succession. Control. Who has the control here? Who controls the business activities? The board of directors controls the business activity. Who chooses this board of directors? All the shareholders, they elect the board of directors and these people will have the right to involve in the day-to-day business activities, will have the right to decide about issuing shares, will have the right to decide about everything and anything related to that particular company. The formation, the expansion, the decision, the buying, selling, marketing, everything is with board of directors. When we discuss in levels of management, we have top level, middle level and low level. This board of directors will be at the top level of management. Okay, they have a very important role in joint stock company. Why? Because they are the decision makers. So a right decision can take you towards success, whereas a bad decision can take you towards failure. That's why we say that these people are very, very important. Clear? And then when we are talking about liability, cooperative society, we saw limited liability. One more happiest thing about joint stock company is here even the liability is limited. What is it? The liability is limited again here. Okay, the liability is limited. To what extent? To the extent of my shares. How much I owe the company. Okay, I have bought shares, about 25 shares I have bought, means if I had paid completely then it's enough. To that limit only I have the liability, not more than that. To what amount I have contributed towards the capital, that much liability only I have, more than that I don't have a liability. Common seal. What is a common seal? That is a signature we already mentioned. Only one member will be having the signing authority, otherwise the company itself will have a company seal. So every legal document or whatever should be authorized should have a common seal. If there is no common seal, then the authorization will not be given. Clear? Then risk bearing. Who bears the risk here? You think the decision makers, only the board of directors? No, all the shareholders will bear a risk, because they are also going to get the what? Remuneration, or they are going to divide the profit among themselves. They are going to share the profit or loss. Then of course the risk also will be shared among all the shareholders. Once the risk is divided to many members, the level of risk that you are bearing will be very, very little. So that it won't be a problem for a single individual to bear only minimal risk. When you compare to sole proprietorship or joint family business, the risk is more. But here the risk is comparatively limited. Just like how the liability is limited, same way the risk that you bear also is limited. Clear? So we have discussed about about what is a joint stock company, and based on the definition and explanation we have discussed what do we call as the features, the characteristics or the nature of joint stock company. And what is the next topic that usually we will discuss? We will be discussing about the merits of the form of business organization. Clear? The merits and limitations we are going to discuss. So, as usual, what you have to do? Connect it with the merits of other forms of company and choose. Okay? What are the merits? First thing is liability only is a big merit for us, right? Limited liability. Right? What do we need? Limited liability. What is the first merit? Of course, it is going to be limited liability, so that we are going to have more and more of shareholders. And the liability of the shareholders or the members of the organization are limited. Then, of course, the prospect of inviting more and more shareholders are going to be good. So, risk also is less, right? Because each investor is going to bear the risk. All the members of the company are going to bear the risk, so the risk will be shared. Already we have discussed. Next one is transfer of interest. Okay, what is the next point that we are going to discuss? We are going to discuss about the transfer of interest. What does it mean by transfer of interest? Transferring your share. Okay, transfer of interest here means your share. When your share is transferred, everything related to the company that you hold will also be transferred. The dividend that you are getting, the repayment you are getting, the advantages you are getting, everything will be transferred to another person. That's why we call it as a whole term transfer of interest, which is very, very easy. Once you decide that you are going to shift or you want to start your own business, so I don't want to continue with the organization anymore, you can easily transfer it to another member, or it can be sold in the market. Share market is there, right? So you will sell it in the market. So it's going to be very, very easy one. The next one is perpetual existence. Okay? Already we have discussed it in the explanation and in the features. Perpetual means what? Unlimited, never ending. It keeps on going even after the death or insolvency of one member shareholder. It is going to continue. Why? The company is seen as an artificial person. It is going to be different from the entire members. How many ever members let them be, the company is going to stand alone. It is going to be different from the members of the business organization. That's why it's never going to end. It is going to keep on continuing. Okay? Next one is expansion. Now what is it? How can you expand? In sole proprietorship, you need to think a lot. It's very difficult because if you want to expand, you need financial resources. How will you raise financial resources here? Very simple. You have to just issue some more shares. You have to invite some more shareholders. When you invite shareholders, of course they are going to buy your shares and that will raise your capital. Or it is very easy to avail loans from any financial institutions, banks or any financial institutions will be ready to come forward to give you or lend you, give you money or lend you money as loans. Alright. So it's good and it's a limited liability company. The form of business organization lets the members to have a limited liability and hence many people will be ready to buy shares. So you can expand at any point of time. It's not going to be a big work. Okay. Next one is professional management. One demerit that we have seen in cooperative society, if you remember, is that demerit about professional management is they cannot afford to pay high salaries or they cannot hire people. Why? Because cooperative societies work towards the welfare of the people. Right, so they will not, and their main aim is to look for economic interest. They have to reduce the economy of their particular society. So they will not go for ideas which are costly. But here, joint stock company, you have enough capital. So you don't have to bother about expansion as well as you don't have to worry about what to say. You can hire high-paid employees or managers, highly efficient employees can be hired for your joint stock company so that the management is going to be really professional. Okay, when you pay highly, of course you are going to get good managers and leaders or technically good people in all the fields so that your management is going to be really good. So what are the merits of joint stock company? It has a limited liability which is really going to be helpful in all the other things. Because when there is limited liability, people will be ready to invest more and more or buy shares in the particular organization. Talking about transfer of interest, it is very easy process to transfer your shares along with all the other proceedings that come with it. Because when you transfer your share, it's a bit of ownership. So you transfer your voting right, you transfer the dividend that you're going to get, you're going to transfer the risk that you have to face. Everything that is related to the shares will be transferred. That is why we call it as transfer of interest. Talking about perpetual existence, it is all about what? The company keeps going. Why? Because it is an artificial person. It does not rely on any one person, any single person or all the members even. Right? It relies on itself. It works individually with the help of board of directors, of course. And then scope for expansion. You can avail loans or you can go for issuing more shares. That also works out. As well as talking about professional management, since you're sound, you can do very well, you have enough money, the companies can go for hiring efficient people and highly qualified managers which will help them in the professional management. These are the merits of joint stock company. But is it all? Is that only merits? No. There are certain demerits or limitations also. We are going to discuss them, and as I always say, children, you need to connect the merits of joint stock company with the merits of the other forms of business organization. Similarly, when we are going to discuss about the demerits, I want you to relate it with the other forms of business organization too. So talking about demerits, we are going to say that it has a complexity in formation. What do we mean by complexity? Difficult. Why? documents to be submitted. So of course the formation is going to be tough in itself. That itself is the first difficulty, because a normal layman cannot start a joint stock company. He needs a lot of legal requirements to go with. Okay, so the formation is going to be really tough. The second thing is lack of secrecy. Now your company's capital is basically raised through shares. Whoever has bought the shares are called as shareholders. These shareholders will be anywhere and everywhere in the country. So when you have to present your data to them, accounts to them, it's very difficult. And as you are a registered company, you have to comply with all the legal requirements. So whenever they ask you to show your accounts and all the transfers of shares and everything, you need to present it before the government and the public. So there is no point of secrecy maintained in the joint stock company. Okay? So there is no possibility of any secrecy to be maintained there. Clear? Next we are going to discuss impersonal work environment. Why do we say impersonal? Because of course we have the shareholders, we have the board of directors, but still we call it as an impersonal work environment. Why? Because the company works differently. It is called an artificial person. So there is no possibility for personal involvement in the work. Right? There is not going to be any relationship. They will not have. As sole proprietor, you imagine, it is my company, my shop, I have to take part in it. You will have that sort of, that personal attachment. Same way in joint stock company. Same way in joint into family business. Then in partnership. But here, the company is a different thing. You are a shareholder, that's all. But nothing that happens to you is going to affect the company. That means you will not have a personal attachment with the company or the workforce. So which is not really good. Because you need to have a satisfaction level. You should not be negligent in anything. ஏனோ தானோன்னு பண்றது இருக்கவே கூடாது. அப்படி பண்ணா business வந்து profitable-ஆ இருக்காது. Right? Then we are going to discuss about numerous regulations. For everything there is a regulation. There are legal requirements. Lots of rules and regulations to be followed. Whatever comes in Companies Act, many Companies Act have been given. So regulations are very tough. You need to concentrate on the registration, document submission, account maintaining, voting, election. Lots of things have to be kept in your mind. So this is going to be time consuming as well as it is going to be costly also. Because if you want to issue your shares, you need to first name them, you have to just divide them, then you have to inform SEBI, that is Securities and Exchange Board of India. Under their control only the share market works. Okay, with their help only you can go. Even if you want to expand your business, there are so many rules and regulations for issuing your shares. So of course, the regulations are numerous. When things are numerous, it's difficult to follow. It will be time consuming, it will be costly, and it will be tough. Okay, next, one important aspect of any management will be decision making. Right? So there will be a delay in decision making. How can you say that there is a delay in decision making? The board of directors are there, but still, it's not that every time the board of directors will be only 2 or 3 people. There will be many. So when you have the board of directors, so many people, they have to come together, they have to sit together, they should have a common time, they should all have common ideas. So the decision making is really going to be taking time, because every one of them should put up their mind, their thoughts. Then a brainstorming will be happening. Then they will discuss the possibilities of each and every separate alternate solution. Then it will be chosen. Then one best method will be chosen. That is why we say that decision making is a very long-term process. There is a delay in decision making. Next, oligarchic management. I am going to give you a small work. This is a new term for you. I want you to refer to the dictionary and find out what do we mean by oligarchic. Okay, the pronunciation is oligarchic. What does it means? Okay, I want you to know it by yourself because it's good. You can build up your vocabulary. Right. Now talking about oligarchic management, it is a democratic kind of business organization because here even voting is there. People are there. They have to elect it. When there is a democracy, of course, there will be difference of opinion, long time process and everything. Of course, yes, the board of directors are the decision making authority, but do you think all the shareholders will be happy with the board of directors? They might not. The board of directors may even be questioned by the shareholders. If something goes wrong, then the shareholders will definitely question the board of directors. So it is going to be again a difficult thing for the board of directors to take a decision. They have to take a long time in deciding. So hence the delay in decision making, which is definitely a limitation for any form of business organization. Because the dynamic environment, the environment changes. So within that you have to fix, you have to design, you have to change. If not, if you are taking too much time for decision making, then the situation changes. Your decision might not be valuable. Okay. Next, conflict in interest. Conflict in interest. What do you mean by conflict in interest? Of course, the members are all from different places. All of them will have different mindsets, different perspectives. There is going to be a possibility of conflicts. In partnership, where only 50 members are going to be there even we discussed about the limitation called conflicts, right? Possibility of conflicts. So here, it's definitely going to be conflict in interest. Everybody will have a different set of mind. So it is definitely going to be a difficult situation for any board of directors or the shareholders or even the company to survive and to succeed. Clear? So what are the merits and demerits? We have discussed the merits and demerits. Merits are, it has a limited liability and the transfer of interest. You can easily transfer it. Then perpetual succession. The company is not disturbed by anything that happens to the members. Then scope for expansion. It's a lot of scope is there. Wide scope is there. Then professional management. You can hire highly paid managerial workers. Demerits are complexity in formation because it's going to be a tough process, time consuming and expensive. And then lack of secrecy. There is not going to be any point in secrecy. And then the impersonal work environment. Okay, because the company is different from its members. So definitely there is going to be an impersonal work environment. There is not going to be any relationship. Numerous regulations. Okay, what is the next point? Numerous regulations. There are going to be lots and lots of regulations. Then delay in decision making. What is the next thing? Delay in decision making. It's going to take a lot of time because many members are there. Oligarchic management, even though board of directors have the deciding authority, it is not possible for them to go without discussing with the shareholders. Conflict in interest, there are many members, and of course we expect a lot of conflicts in the management. Okay? The next thing that we are going to discuss is the types of companies. Okay, the last topic of joint stock company as well as the last topic of this particular chapter is the type of companies. With this, the chapter comes to an end, children. The factors that influence in choosing the business form, choice of form of business organization is deleted from CBSE's portion for this academic year. But still, it's an interesting topic. So as usual, it's not a bad thing for you to just go through and to know what is mentioned. Okay? To talk about companies, there are two types. Okay? Companies are of two types. What? Private companies and public companies. We are saying private limited company, public company. Private limited means there is a What is the limitation? We are going to refer to it. That is, the number of members are going to be limited. Okay. Now, private company, what are the restrictions? What are the important points about private company? In private company, there is a restriction for right of members to transfer shares. We saw transfer of shares, right? So, restricts transfer of shares. It's not an easy process, or you can't transfer it all. Okay? And then it needs a minimum of 2 members and maximum 200 members. Minimum 2, maximum 200. More than 200, you can't sell your shares. You can't have shareholders more than 200 members, right? And then it does not invite public to buy shares. So expansion is going to be difficult. Why? Because it is not going to invite public for getting shares. Only the 200 is a limit, and hence what? You cannot invite public also to be a part of it. And what happens? You have to mention private limited. Whenever your company name is mentioned, you have to write it as private limited company, or else the benefits that are given to the company will be exempted. It will not be continued. Okay, so it is essential that it is mentioned as private limited. Otherwise, the privileges and all other benefits will be stopped. Okay, so what are the privileges of a private limited company? When you compare it with a public company, what are the privileges? What are the benefits that a private company has more than a public company needs? It can be formed with only 2 members. But whereas in public company, you need 7 members to form it. Private company, 2 members, enough. Okay, and then there is no need to issue a prospectus. Prospectus means it will be mentioning about the company, the formation, what are the rules in it, everything. To whom you will give prospectus? Prospectus will be given to the public for inviting them to buy shares. But here we are not going to invite public, so hence there is no point of issuing a prospectus. They don't have to spend anything for issuing a prospectus. Clear? And then allotment of shares can be done without receiving the minimum subscription. So shares can be allotted as their own wish. Private limited companies can give shares to any people. Okay, there is no need that they have to get a minimum subscription. In public company they have to get. And based on that only they can allot. But in private company it's not going to be there. And in private company you have to have minimum of 2 directors. Board of directors we discussed, right? 2 directors, whereas in public company 3 directors are needed. Okay? And then it is not required to keep an index of members. That is, who are its members. There is no need for a private limited company to tell that. Who are the members? You can be a secret partner, we discussed, right? Same way they can be a secret member also. When we talk about public company, you need minimum of 7 members. Maximum is unlimited. Okay? You can have how many other members you want. And you can invite public to get shares. There is no restriction for transfer. No restriction for transfer of shares. Okay? And it is, of course, you can invite public to share. That is, buy your shares. So we are just going to see the difference between both. Okay. So on the basis of what? Then private and public. First we are going to see number of members required for formation. Okay, members. How many here? Minimum 2, maximum 200. Right, whereas here minimum 7, maximum unlimited. How many other members you want, you can add on, because you are going to invite public for being your partners, being your shareholders. So you can have how many other members you want. Okay? Then one it is 2, here it is 3. In private company you need at least 2 board of directors, whereas in public company you need 3 directors. Then index of members, that is the name list, right? Details about them. In private company it is not compulsory, not required. Whereas here public company it is compulsory. People should know who are the members, who are the shareholders of it, because there is going to be unlimited and when you invite public, hence it is needed. Okay? Transfer of shares or transfer of interest even. Here, in public company it is not restricted. You can share to anybody. Whereas in private company there is a restriction. Okay? Understood? Next is invitation to public participation or invitation to public. You can invite, you can't invite public in, you can't invite public in private company, you can invite here. Okay, so what are the differences between private and public? We have seen in a gist. So members have to be minimum 2 members and in private company, whereas it can be minimum 7 members in a public limited company. Talking about the maximum number of members, it should be 200 in a private company. It is restricted to 200. Whereas when you talk about public company, it is unlimited. You can have how many of the members you want. Board of directors, you should have a minimum of 2 board of directors in private limited, whereas in public you need 3 board of directors. Index of members, it's not compulsory in private, whereas it is compulsory in public limited company. And then transfer of shares, private companies you have a restriction, whereas in public company you don't have a restriction. Public companies, invitation to public for buying your shares, private company you cannot invite public, whereas public company can invite and expand their business at any point of time. Right, children? So today we have discussed about the last form of business organization, which is joint stock companies. So we have discussed what is it, their features, their merits, their demerits, and finally we have discussed the types of joint stock company. The next topic, that is the choice of form of business organization or choice of form of ownership, is deleted from CBSE's portion. But still, it's not a bad thing to go into it and study about it, just have a glance about it. So with this, chapter number 2 is completed. So I hope you are studying and just look into it. Refer to the video again and again. Answer the worksheet on the basis of your understanding. Dear children, thank you and may you all have a wonderful day today.